restaurant. The uniformed chauffeur was leaning against the fender, holding a leash, at the end of which a little French poodle leapt back and forth, barking like a maniac at the door of Gino's. "He's funny," I said to my mother. "I wonder who he belongs to." "Whoever it is, they better own a pair of earplugs," my father said. The poodle came over to me, looked up, and barked at me like I was the problem. "Don't get too close," my mother warned. "It's the little ones that really bite." "Let's go," my sister pleaded. She was always impatient, especially when the four of us were out together. My mother suggested we take a walk on Fifth Avenue before getting a taxi back to our apartment on the Upper West Side. "All right, but I just hope we can find a cab," said my father, suddenly sounding grumpy for no apparent reason, as so often was the case. "They aren't so frequent on Fifth," he explained. "Fifth goes downtown," my sister chimed in. "They won't want to take us." "All we can do is ask," said my mother. "Maybe we can ask Fifth to go uptown," I said. My mother laughed. We walked, in spite of my father's misgivings, still hearing the poodle halfway to Park Avenue. When we turned onto Fifth, as taxi after vacant taxi sped by without my father lifting his hand to signal, I looked up and was startled by the sight of the dreamy, sparkling skyline of Central Park South and Midtown Manhattan, silhouetted against a dusky pink sky, and I felt a powerful surge of desire. When I grew up, I told myself, I was going to escape the New York of my parents and find a way into the New York I saw glittering above the treetops of Central Park. It would be a New York full of cool, amazing, talented people like the actors and famous writers and artists I saw dining at Gino's, people who didn't need to worry about every little thing. I would be an artist, too, I decided. What kind of artist would I be? I knew that I loved to draw. I also knew that I was funny. At least my mother thought so. I did the calculation. Drawing plus funny equals cartoonist. When we returned to our apartment on West 79th Street, I went straight to my room, took out my crayons, and got to work. I had had an idea on the way home, and 5 minutes later, I turned it into my first actual cartoon, a drawing of a dog confronting a tree trunk and yelping, "Bark! Bark!" I've been telling myself stories about my family, in some cases, since I was a small boy. My father, Nathan Sipress, my mother, Estelle Sipress, and my sister Linda have all been dead now for many years. But I spent much of my life trying to escape what I thought of as their clutches, and they continue to tug on my consciousness, like the insistent undertow that tugged on my little boy ankles as I stood, small feet planted in gritty sand, at the water's edge on the beach in Neponset, the 4-block-wide beachfront community wedged between the Atlantic Ocean and Jamaica Bay, Queens, where we spent every summer of my childhood. When I sit in my studio, squeezing my brain for cartoon ideas, it is often thinking about the three of them that gets me going. When I visit my therapist, they are always in the room. There is unfinished business between us. Are all the stories in this memoir 100% true? Who knows? My only primary source on my childhood is me. All other possible sources are long gone. My parents and my sister left little in the way of first-person evidence besides a few brief missives, a small collection of photographs, and, in the case of my mother, a single travel diary covering trips she took with my father after he retired. However, since telling funny stories about me as a boy was a family tradition, I do have that oral history to fall back on. I'm on firmer ground the closer I get to the present. In a few cases, I have been able to check in with friends and with my wife, Ginny. But in the end, I've decided that the best course is to go with my subjective version of the past, since the stories I've been telling myself forever have their own kind of truth.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.